I think for independent authors, it is a barometer for us. It is one metric that we use to see the success of our book, to see if we're connecting with our audience, our readers, and it does affect us. Hey, this is Writers Row. I'm DC Wrighthammer.
And I'm David Gain.
And if you like the content we've been putting out on Writers Row, both on YouTube and on podcast, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up, comment in the description down below, and make sure to hit that notification bell.
So what are we talking about today, DC?
So in the writing community, there has been some controversy, as often happens, and the flavor of the week is reviews and how to handle them as an author, particularly bad reviews, but we can talk about it in general. There was an incident where we won't name names, but a book blogger gave a 1-star review to an author on Goodreads. The author responded on Goodreads and tried to make excuses why they got a 1-star review. The book blogger responded back saying, the review stands, I read the right copy, all this, and then the author kind of divulged in sort of a toxic attack on the book blogger after that. So again, we're not going to go into names, but that gives you enough detail. And I think the reason why I want to talk about it is because I think there's some perceptions in writing community about reviews that I want to talk about. And I think, especially for independent authors, if you get a bad review and you're the type of author that pays attention to those, it could be very deflating. So before we get into all that, I actually wanted to put you on the spot, David. I think you have an alternative to all this, and I think it's going to help us walk back from it. And so you're an independent author. I know you do the partner publishing and all that, but
yeah,
what's your take on reviews in general? How do you respond to good and bad reviews?
I try not to. I don't really worry about reviews. I will preface this to say that I do look at some reviews. Just, we'll get a post from, or like a mention that it's in a newspaper or something like that, and we'll check it just to see what it looks like. Often for most of our reviews, they give too many spoilers away, so we're like, come on, why'd you say that, kind of thing. But in general, I don't really worry about it. Like, if somebody likes it, good for them. If they hate it, well, they're probably not our reader. Or there's a line that somebody uses that talks about if you get the joke or not, and whatever kind of thing. It's not like referring to comedy or anything like that. It's like, did you get the joke of what the book is about or whatever? And if you didn't get the joke, then obviously you're not the people for us, right? It's a certain type of reader, and that's all cool. And you don't need to like our thing. But if you did like it, then that's cool too. And hopefully you'll pick up the next one and join us on our journey, because that's kind of the way it is. It's not about the single, it's about the journey that we're taking. And I honestly think that a lot of the time, whether the review is good or if it's bad, if you read it and you like it, then yay. If no one likes it, then obviously, yeah, we made a mistake. But the review is not going to show us that. It's going to be that no one's buying the book at all and continuing on our journey with us, right? Like, we took a misstep, we get it. Hopefully we can win you back in the next book. Also, the other thing, as soon as I said that, it reminded me of the other thing. The book's done, so there's nothing I can change, right? I'm like, yeah, okay, it's unfortunate, but we've done it. We got to move on to the next thing. So does that fill in all the bases for you to go from there?
No, it does.
I'm going to probably have more opinion about that shortly, but yeah.
Well, I think, so my perspective, I'm an independent author, and I've been told from day one of publishing that I need to get as many reviews as I can.
Yep.
I just need them. I need them on Amazon. I need them on Goodreads. And if you can get them anywhere else, that's also good. If you can get book bloggers, all of that, get people to read and review your stuff. So I think I want to dispel, I want to at least disagree with, maybe not dispel, but disagree with people say that reviews are only for readers. Reviews are only for the consumer who's going to purchase your book next. Okay, yeah, 80 to 90% true, of course, because it's on the website where you want them to purchase your book, and they might be looking at that as an indicator of whether they want to purchase your book. But I think for independent authors, it is a barometer for us. It is one metric that we use to see the success of our book, to see if we're connecting with our audience, our readers, and it does affect us, whether we want to admit it or not. I think a lot of independent authors know, like, basically you could ask them in a week how many reviews do they have on a particular book, and if that changes, they would know the next day, or they would know as soon as that number changes. And they're usually diving in to see, is it a good review? Is it a bad review? What kind of feedback am I getting on the book that I put all this effort in? Not only writing it, but monetarily getting it edited, getting a cover, publishing it, marketing it. What kind of feedback am I getting for that? So I've found that's very common, that independent authors are living in their reviews, whether they should or not. And I like your approach. I actually think your approach is where we should be. Publish and move on. Publish and worry about the next piece of work you're doing, and come back maybe later, much later, and see, what kind of feedback am I getting, so I can consider that maybe for the next book. But to say that it's only for the readers, I think is naive. I think is painting with a broad brush, broad strokes, and it's not the reality that we find ourselves in writing community as independent authors, that we do need credible, viable reviews that are going to show other readers that it's something that they should pick up. And so when we get, let me finish real quick.
Yeah.
When we get that bad review, it feels like an attack on our work. It feels like an attack on our brand. And I'm not justifying anybody's response, but I'm at least relating and saying that it hurts. It does hurt a little bit. It's like somebody insulting your child. Like, it doesn't mean you should attack them or fight them, but when they insult your child, or in this case, they give a bad review of your book, it does hurt a little bit somewhere.
Okay, let's just go back to all this. So, yes, it can be a barometer to your book, right? I agree with that. But do you look at it as all the reviews as a whole, or do you look at it as each and every single review? If I look at it, let's say I go on and I'm getting, let's say 1 to 2 star, like really low ratings. So then that means, yes, I probably have taken a misstep somewhere along the line on this book. And if I go into those reviews, like just do a quick scan, I'll probably get a good idea of what the major thing is. Same thing as if I'm going to go and buy a blender or something and everything says it overheats, right? Then I'm like, okay, obviously this blender has a problem with overheating. Everything is great except this one thing. Keep that in mind, right? Buyer beware. So that's good for us to know as writers. But then to go in and like look at each and every individual review, to me, that's like, if you want to do like horrible stuff to yourself, that's a good step to like, hey, I'm never going to write again because I suck as a human being, right? Like that's it. It's one of those things. And even the good reviews, well, oh man, I'm the best writer in the world. Look at everyone thinks I'm fantastic. That's going to ruin you as well. So why even do that to yourself, right? Yeah, that, like, I like the barometer, but the individual things, I think, are just toxic in both sides, right?
Right.
And I've also said to you in previous episodes, I'd hate to see it if I just got, like, good reviews or bad reviews. I'd like to see a mix of reviews, right? Because either someone's blowing smoke up my ass, or I've totally derailed and done a really bad book, right?
Yeah, well, and I want to draw a distinction between a legitimate 1 to 2 star review where someone gave the book a chance. Maybe they didn't finish it, but they clearly said this book is not for me for these reasons. That is a legitimate review, and regardless of how much it hurts to get, those type of reviews might come. Especially the wider your audience gets, you're going to get more of those because people are going to see your book is getting popular, they're going to pick it up, and you might, in your genre, your writing style, whatever it might be, you're going to get those 1 and 2 star reviews. I want to distinguish those from trolls. And I think you're also going to get those as time goes on. And you're going to get a 1 star review, did not finish. The person didn't even pick up your book. They just decided they didn't like you, and they gave you a poor review as a result. They just targeted you. They attacked you in a review. And I think the reason why I want to draw a distinction is because you can learn something from the legitimate reviews, that it wasn't for them for X number of reasons. The trolls, I think you really need to take David's approach at least in this, take David's approach and just scan it and declare it what it is. If it is truly a troll, like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If it's truly a troll that's giving you a poor review, you have to move on from those. There's not a ton you can do. You can report it to like an Amazon or a Goodreads. I think there's ways to report reviews, whether it's spoilers or you think it's an unjust review, you can report them. But to have them, and I think in either case, I think this is actually true for both of them, to put in effort in any way, shape, or form to try to respond to bad reviews is not a good use of your time in any way, shape, or form. To actually try to make contact with the reviewer in some way, I think can only lead to bad things. It cannot lead to good things unless you're legitimately trying to build a relationship with someone who gave you a poor review and you want to learn and make your books better. And even in that case, that is walking such a fine line that you could run the risk of alienating someone who didn't like your books anyway, even more. And I would tread very carefully if you wanted to go that approach. And even that is a noble approach. You want to go in and you want to say, oh, you didn't like my book. How can I make it better? What would you have done differently? You have to be very careful with that and make sure you're approaching the right person. And even then, I still say you probably shouldn't do it.
Absolutely. You should do the book that you want to do, right? And, if somebody's saying, oh, well, you should do this and this and this, and it doesn't fit you or who you are, then why would you do that as well, right? So tell me what the benefit is of looking at those reviews, because everything that you've said so far just sounds like pain and misery and suffering and a lot of like a waste of energy that you should just be putting into creative work, right? Even the time that's spent looking at reviews, thinking about reviews, everything like that should be focused on doing the work, moving on to the next thing, and yeah, everything like that. That's what I say.
So the only argument I have for it is it's a part of marketing. It is stepping outside of doing actual content creation of writing the books.
Yeah.
And it is building your marketing platform, building your brand to be able to say you have more than 30 reviews, 40 reviews, 50 reviews, starts to make you look better to the unknowing audience, the people that would just stumble upon your book. And so you want to kind of keep on top of that so you can, if you have reviews in the works, if you know friends, family, people have picked up your book, and you want to kind of remind them gently, very nicely, that it would be awesome if they reviewed your book on the platform of your choice after they got done reading it. So you can build those numbers. I think that's where it is the marketing side of it. And to completely ignore that, again, I think to say that there's nothing in it for authors in terms of the quality and quantity of number of the reviews that they get, I think is naive to say that it doesn't matter at all. I think the other extreme to say that people should just be review hungry and they should do anything they can to get reviews. Again, that extreme, that's not good either. I still think they're predominantly for readers and consumers, but to say that they're not for authors and authors shouldn't stay on top of them, I think is to ignore the reality that we live in the modern era of self-publishing and independent authors.
There's two things there, though. There is reading reviews and there's asking for reviews. And asking for reviews is a very different thing than talking about reading reviews. I think asking for reviews is totally fine within reason, right? Like, oh, you read our book? Did you really like it? Cool. Then would you mind throwing a review on Amazon? I think that's totally fine. Or whatever review place of choice that they have, right?
Right.
I think that's a totally different thing. Yes, it does help with marketing and everything like that. But I mean, like, just like going and looking at reviews all day seems to me like a toxic behavior. Going and promoting yourself and saying, hey, can you help me out? Your review helps spread the word about us and everything like that. Whatever you do, let people know. That's fantastic, because that to me is the same as somebody saying, I really like this book. You probably would really enjoy it, and handing it to their friend or whatever kind of thing.
Huh?
That's what a good review is all about. It's sharing something that you enjoy and giving it to somebody else. And I think that's totally fine and everything. And really, we have had, and this has been on my mind as we've been talking about this, we've had people say, I didn't like your book. And we're like, fair enough. Can you tell us why? And it's always the same thing. They don't like the violence. I don't know why, but it's totally fine. Yeah, but like the violence seems to upset a lot of people. And I don't even think the violence is that bad ever. But that's the sticking point for a lot of people. And I like to have those conversations about that too, though, right? Where it's like, why did you not like it? This is why we have that in there, and we have the discussion. My favorite one that we've recently had was we were doing a book sale, and this person that Ange and I both knew, she said, I didn't like the violence, and we had the conversation, and she goes, okay, now I'll buy all 3 for my grandson. And I'm like, what?
Right.
Like, that was fantastic. Like, she didn't like it, but she liked what we were trying to do, and then she ended up going and giving it to somebody who she thought would enjoy it. That's, to me, I love that. That's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we spent a lot of time talking about getting a bad review and what not to do. Don't respond. Try to move on. If it's a troll, definitely move on. Don't even think twice about it. But what are some things you can do if you notice that a bad review rolls in? And so some of the techniques that I've started to use is, number one, it helps the more reviews you get. That next bad one doesn't matter as much because it's just one of many. So you should try to get, it is one more review. So always feel good about that next review. The number at least, whether the quality is what it is, but feel good about it and let that motivate you to say, let me get that next one, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I think the other thing I've done is I have been obsessive. You said it was toxic behavior to look at your reviews often. And when you have a few number of books and you have a few number of reviews, you tend to, it's one metric that you spend some time with. And that's what I have done as an independent author. And so I have learned early on not to respond to bad reviews, but they still hurt. And so I pulled up a Word document on my own personal PC and I just responded to them. I typed it out. I wrote like you do with anything else. And I responded to every, but I would never do anything. That is for me only forever. No one's ever going to see that. But it allowed me to get out of myself and help me move on to do the things that you say we should do, David. And that is focus on the next thing that you're writing. Focus on the next scene. Do not let it get you down. Do not let it hold you back. But I think owning those bad reviews, especially if they have good criticisms in them, they have useful feedback. If you want to take my advice and respond to them in a Word doc or whatever, Scrivener, whatever you write in, just to give yourself an outlet, see how you can learn and grow from them. I had a review that was like 8 paragraphs that just tore my book to shreds, my first book, just like tore it to. It was literally like 8 paragraphs. It was like probably like 800 words, and I was like, man, I was feeling bad, and then I looked, and he had given me 3 stars. And I'm like, after you read the words and then you look at the star rating, there's these emotions that come from it. And I think the thing that I would basically impart on people is that you never know what your readers are going through, how they're going to take your book, how they're going to accept it. I mean, they've got their life going on, and so they're reading a chapter and then going to the bank, and they're reading a chapter and picking their kids up from school, and they're doing all this stuff. And they might not get all your nuance, and they might not get all your story, little Easter eggs and things like that. And so if you get a 3-star review, but their words are a little harsh, that's still a fine review. If you get a 4-star review, but they talk about a lot of negative stuff, like, don't dwell on it too much. And if you get those 1 and 2-star reviews, if you can learn from them, great. If not, try to move on, like David's been telling us this whole episode. Don't dwell on it too much.
I really do think that getting the good reviews and kind of celebrating them for yourself a little bit, especially the personal ones, because you were saying how you never know where the person is in their life, right? Like, and the review very well may not be anything about your writing, and it may be all about them in their headspace and everything like that. But I've also had a couple of people who have sent me personal letters saying, you know what, this book was the exact thing I needed in this moment of my life. I really cared about this character, and that means a lot to me. Actually, the other review that I always will keep really close is it was such a cute review. This kid read our first book. I gave it to his mother. She gave it to him. He burned through it. And he gave us a review, which was 7 out of 10. And it was like scrawled onto a piece of paper that was like this small and like stuck on top of the book. And she photographed it and sent it to us. And she said, just so you know, he is so hard and critical on books. This is a fantastic review. And I'm like, I love it. I love it so much. So yeah, that was one of those little reviews that I just was like, thanks, like that's awesome. And then just it's the other things, like I haven't read a book in forever and I burned through your book and now I'm reading the next one. Like that feels good to me. So I like to celebrate those, and I'm really bad at celebrating a lot of the things that happen in my writing life. So actually in my life in general. So yeah.
That's for another episode, David.
Yeah, that'll be on the couch with Dave.
There you go. All the failings we've had in our lives. It's going to be so depressing with a lot of alcohol.
Like pointing down on our faces.
Exactly. Sad Dave in DC. And on that note, no, I just, I want to relate to the authors out there that the reviews are important. They are. Put them in the right space for you. If you're obsessive and you think you're going to obsess over them, you might need some self-control. You might need some steps in place. Check it once a week instead of checking it every day, which sounds funny. And I think some authors might be like, who's checking it every day? And other authors are like, what? You mean only check it once a week? So I think we're going to get a little bit of both on that. Put it into, it's just one thing of the many things you have to do as an author, and don't let it bring you down too much, and let it help you, kind of coast along as you're going if you get those good reviews, and let those reinforce it. So I just kind of wanted to sum that up.
And take those good reviews and celebrate them. Put them on your website in little quotes and say, hey, so-and-so said this. Celebrate those kind of things because those are really important for you and as for marketing. So that's that's important as well.
Let's wrap it up. Speaking of marketing, what would you like to promote this week?
You know what? Go to our website. It's still a little early, but we do have book 4 hopefully getting finished in the next couple of weeks. So that's exciting for us. It won't be out until May, but if you get on to our newsletter at kunyosangain.com, you can find out about the updates, when it's coming, where to get it, stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I'm going to promote.
Very cool.
How about you, DC?
I will promote righthammer.com. You still have through the end of the year to get $5 off your first purchase using the promo code Carter. So that's basically like free shipping. If you bought both my first and second book, you're basically getting free shipping in the United States. Abroad, not as much free shipping, but we could work something out. So if you pick up my paperbacks on my website, use that promo code Carter to get $5 off. So,
well, thank you very much, DC. This has been a very good and interesting episode.
Thank you, David, and we'll catch you all next time.
Bye.
Take care.